The phone call came at exactly 7:42 p.m. on a Tuesday. I remember because I was stirring pasta sauce, watching the bubbles pop and splatter against the stovetop, when my mother's ringtone shattered the peaceful evening. I should have let it go to voicemail. God, how I wish I'd let it go to voicemail. "Emma, darling." My mother's voice burst through the speaker with the kind of enthusiasm that always preceded bad news. "Your father and I have the most wonderful announcement." I turned, down the heat on the stove, already feeling the familiar knot forming in my stomach. "What is it, Mom?" "Well, you know how Madison has been talking about her new business venture, the luxury wellness spa?" Of course I knew. My younger sister Madison had been talking about various business ventures for the past decade. The boutique clothing store that never opened. The organic juice bar that folded after 2 months. The cryptocurrency consulting firm that turned out to be her forwarding YouTube videos to gullible investors. Each failure had been cushioned by our parents' seemingly endless supply of forgiveness and financial support. "Yes, I remember," I said carefully, gripping the wooden spoon tighter. "We've decided to invest. Isn't that exciting? Your father and I truly believe this is Madison's moment to shine. She's put together such a professional business plan, and the location she's found is simply perfect." The knot in my stomach twisted, tighter. "Invest? Mom, you and Dad are retired. You shouldn't be—" "Oh, don't worry about us. We've actually decided to sell the house. The market is so hot right now, and we'll make a killing. More than enough to give Madison the capital she needs and have plenty left over." The spoon slipped from my hand, clattering against the tile floor. "You're selling the house? The house you've lived in for 30 years? Well, we won't need all that space anymore. And here's the best part. We thought we'd stay with you for a bit while we look for a smaller place. Just temporarily, of course. A few months at most. Won't that be fun? Like when you were in college and came home for summer breaks?" I stared at the splattered sauce on my kitchen floor, feeling my carefully constructed life beginning to crack at the edges. My 2-bedroom apartment, my sanctuary, my proof that I'd made something of myself without their help. They wanted to invade it. "Mom, I don't think—" "Madison is just over the moon. She says the spa will be revolutionary. Cryotherapy, meditation pods, some kind of crystal healing rooms. She's already got investors lined up, but she needs the family support to really make it legitimate. You understand, don't you, sweetie?" I understood perfectly. I understood that once again, Madison's dreams were being prioritized over everything else. I understood that my parents would lose their life savings on another one of her schemes. And I understood that they expected me to pick up the pieces when it all fell apart. "When are you planning to sell?" I asked, my voice surprisingly steady. "Oh, we've already accepted an offer. Closing is in 2 weeks. Madison needs the funds quickly to secure the lease on the spa location. Some fancy building downtown. You should see it, Emma. It's going to be spectacular. 2 weeks. They were homeless in 2 weeks. I have to go, Mom. My dinner's burning." "Of course, darling. We'll talk more tomorrow. Your father wants to discuss which room we'll take at your place." "Love you." The line went dead before I could respond. I stood in my kitchen, sauce congealing on the floor, staring at nothing. They had no idea. No idea that I'd been planning my escape for months. No idea that I'd already signed a lease on a studio apartment across town, small but mine alone. No idea that I was supposed to move out this weekend. My phone buzzed with a text from Madison. "Thanks for being so supportive, sis. Mom said you're excited about my spa. Can't wait to show you the plans. Maybe you can help with the accounting. You're so good with numbers." I deleted the message, without responding, and walked to my bedroom. The boxes were already half-packed, hidden in my closet. My new lease agreement was tucked safely in my desk drawer. I'd been so careful, so quiet about my plans. I knew if they found out, the guilt trips would be unbearable. "Emma, how could you abandon your family? Emma, don't you want to help your sister succeed? Emma, we've given you everything." But they hadn't given me everything. They'd given Madison everything. Every second chance, every bailout, every excuse. They'd given me expectations and responsibilities and the role of the stable one who would always be there to catch them when Madison's latest scheme sent them tumbling. I pulled out my laptop and opened my banking app. The security deposit and first month's rent for my new place had taken most of my savings, but it was worth it. Or at least, it had been worth it until 5 minutes ago. My phone rang again. Madison this time. I let it go to voicemail, then listened to the message. Em, I'm so excited. I've been working on this for months, and it's finally happening. I know my other ideas didn't pan out, but this one is different. I've done my research. I have a real business partner this time. His name is Derek, and he's got experience in the wellness industry. Mom and Dad believe in me, and I know you do too. Call me back. We should celebrate. A real business partner. I almost laughed. Madison's business partners had a habit of disappearing right around the time bills came due. But this Derek must be something special if he'd convinced my parents to sell their house. I walked back to the kitchen and cleaned up the spilled sauce, my movements mechanical. 28 years old, and I was still cleaning up messes, still being the responsible one, still watching my family make the same mistakes over and over. But not this time. This time, I was choosing myself. I just had to figure out how to do it without destroying everything. The next morning came too quickly. I'd barely slept, running through scenarios in my mind. I could tell them about the apartment, weather the storm of their disappointment. I could lie, say my place was being fumigated or renovated. I could simply disappear, leave a note explaining. Everything, each option felt like a betrayal. My phone started ringing at 6 a.m. Madison, why aren't you answering? She demanded when I finally picked up. I've been trying to reach you all night. It's 6 a.m, Madison. I know. I'm too excited to sleep. Can you meet me for breakfast? I want to show you the business plan. You'll die when you see the projected returns. I was already dying, just not in the way she meant. I have to work. Take the morning off. This is more important. This is family. Everything was family when Madison needed something. I can't. I have a presentation. Fine. Lunch then. Non-negotiable. I'll send you the address. She hung up before I could protest. I stared at my phone, then at the boxes in my closet. 3 more days until my move-out date. 3 more days to maintain this charade. I got dressed for work, choosing my most professional outfit as if it were armor. The presentation was real, at least. A quarterly review that I'd been preparing for weeks. My boss had hinted that a promotion might be coming, recognition for the long hours and dedication I'd shown. It was part of why I'd felt confident enough to get my own place. The morning flew by in a blur of spreadsheets and PowerPoints. I delivered my presentation flawlessly, earning nods of approval from the senior management team. My boss, Patricia, pulled me aside afterward. Excellent work, Emma. I want to discuss your future with the company. How does Friday afternoon sound? Perfect, I said, thinking of my moving date on Saturday. Everything was falling into place. Then I checked my phone and saw 17 missed calls from Madison. The restaurant she'd chosen was predictably expensive, all white tablecloths and tiny portions. Madison was already there when I arrived, spread across a corner booth with papers covering the entire table. She looked up when I approached, her face glowing with manic energy. Finally, sit. You're going to love this. I slid into the booth, careful not to disturb her papers. She'd printed everything in color, charts and graphs and architectural renderings that must have cost a fortune at the copy shop. Look at this, she said, shoving a rendering at me. The interior design. Each room will have a different healing frequency. The amethyst room for spiritual cleansing. The rose quartz suite for emotional healing. And look. She pulled out another paper. Projected revenue for year 1. Conservative estimates put us at $2.3 million. I studied the numbers, my accounting brain automatically spotting the flaws. Wildly optimistic customer projections. Operating costs that didn't include Basic necessities like insurance or utilities, marketing budgets that wouldn't cover a week of Facebook ads. Madison, these numbers, I know they're conservative. Derek thinks we could hit 3 million if we get the right influencer partnerships. He's already got meetings set up with some wellness bloggers. Who is Derek exactly? Her eyes shifted slightly. He's an entrepreneur. He's launched several successful businesses in California. What kind of businesses? Various ventures. He doesn't like to be tied down to one industry. That's what makes him so innovative. Warning bells were ringing in my head. Have you verified his credentials? Checked references? God, Emma, you're such a pessimist. This is why I didn't want to tell you earlier. I knew you'd try to poke holes. In everything. I'm trying to protect you, and Mom and Dad, they're selling their house for this because they believe in me. Madison's voice rose, drawing looks from other diners. For once, someone believes in me. Do you know what that feels like? To have someone trust your vision? I did know. Patricia believed in me. My new landlord had believed in me enough to approve my rental application. I believed in myself enough to sign that lease. But this wasn't about me. I want you to succeed, I said carefully. I just want to make sure you've done your due diligence. Madison gathered her papers, shoving them haphazardly into a designer bag I didn't recognize. I should have known you'd be like this. You've never supported me, not once. That's not true, isn't it? When I wanted to study fashion design, you said I should get a business degree. When I started the juice bar, you kept asking about health, permits and profit margins. You can't just be happy for me. She stood to leave, then paused. Mom and Dad will be at your place Monday. Try not to poison them against me before my grand opening. She swept out of the restaurant, leaving me with the check. That evening, I met my best friend Sarah for drinks. She was the only person who knew about my new apartment, the only one I trusted to keep the secret. You have to tell them, she said, after I'd recounted the whole saga. This is insane. They can't just move in with you. I know. I stared into my wine glass. But if I tell them now, they'll guilt me into letting them stay anyway. Or worse, they'll convince me to give the apartment up entirely. So what's your plan? Just disappear? Maybe? I laughed, but it sounded hollow. I've been the good daughter for so long, the reliable one. Maybe it's time to be selfish. It's not selfish to have boundaries, Sarah said firmly. You've been supporting them emotionally and financially for years. Remember when Madison crashed her car and you paid for the repairs because your parents had already bailed her out? Twice that year? Or when their roof needed replacing and you took out a personal loan? I remembered. Every time they'd promised to pay me back. Every time something had come up. Usually something involving Madison. They're my family, I said weakly. Family doesn't mean doormat. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother with a picture of their house, a sold sign prominent in the front yard. Can't wait to spend quality time with our girls, the message read. I showed Sarah the text. She flagged down the waiter and ordered us another round. Thursday arrived with a sense of impending doom. I'd managed to avoid Madison since our lunch, but my parents called constantly with questions about their temporary living arrangements. Did I have extra hangers? Should they bring their own towels? Would their coffee maker fit in my kitchen? Each question felt like another bar in the prison they were building around me. I took Friday off work, telling Patricia I had a family emergency. It wasn't entirely a lie. I spent the day moving my belongings to the new apartment, making multiple trips in my small car. The studio was tiny, barely 400 square feet, but it was on the third floor of a security building with a doorman. Doorman who would, under strict instructions, never let my family up without calling me first. By evening, my old apartment looked strange, half empty, like I was already a ghost. I'd left enough furniture and belongings to maintain the illusion. For a few more days, my parents wouldn't arrive until Monday. I had the weekend to figure out how to break the news. My phone rang as I was carrying the last box to my car. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Is this Emma Martinez? A woman's voice, professional and cold. Yes? My name is Jennifer Walsh. I'm an attorney representing several investors in a fraud case. I understand your sister, Madison Martinez, is planning to open a wellness spa? My blood ran cold. I don't know anything about that. Our clients invested significant sums in Mr. Derek Thompson's previous ventures in California, ventures that turned out to be elaborate Ponzi schemes. We have reason to believe he's running the same operation here, using your sister as a front. I sank onto the curb next to my car. Are you sure? Mr. Thompson is currently under investigation by the FBI. We're reaching out to potential victims before more people lose their money. Has your sister or your family invested any funds yet? They're selling their house, I whispered. The closing is tomorrow. Then you need to stop them, immediately. I got the attorney's contact information and promised to call her back. Then I sat on that curb for a long time, watching the sun set over the city. Madison wasn't just naive or overly optimistic. She was being used. And our parents were about to lose everything. The responsible thing would be to call them immediately. To rush over with the attorney's information and save them from financial ruin. To once again be the hero, the reliable one, the daughter who fixed everything. Instead, I got in my car and drove to my new apartment. The studio was still bare, just boxes and an air mattress, but it felt like a palace. My palace. I ordered Chinese food and ate it sitting on the floor, my back against the wall. Every few minutes, my phone would buzz with another call from my family. I let them all go to voicemail. At midnight, a text from Madison. Why is some lawyer calling? Me? What did you do? So Jennifer Walsh had reached out to her directly. Good. By Saturday morning, my phone had over 50 missed calls. The voicemail started confused, then angry, then desperate. My father's voice shaking. Emma, please call us back. Something's happened with Madison's business partner. We need your help. My mother crying. Sweetie, we don't understand what's going on. The FBI came to the house. They say Madison's been scammed. The closing is supposed to be Monday. What do we do? Madison, furious. You did this. You couldn't stand to see me succeed, so you sabotaged everything. Derek's disappeared, and now everyone thinks I'm some kind of criminal. I turned off my phone and spent the day setting up my new home. The furniture delivery arrived in the afternoon. A bed, a small couch, a tiny dining table. By evening, the studio looked like someone actually lived there. Someone who made their own choices. Someone who wasn't responsible for everyone else's mistakes. Sunday brought more of the same. I turned on my phone briefly to check work emails and saw that the missed calls had reached triple digits. There were also texts from Sarah, checking on me, and one from Patricia about our meeting next week. I responded to those and ignored the rest. That night, I couldn't sleep. Tomorrow was supposed to be their move-in day. Tomorrow they would go to my old apartment and find me gone. Tomorrow, everything would change. Monday morning, I woke to pounding on my old apartment door. I wasn't there to hear it, but my former neighbor texted me, "Girl, your family is here and they look pissed. They've been knocking for 20 minutes." I was sitting in my new breakfast nook, drinking coffee from a mug I'd bought myself, when my building's doorman called. "Ms. Martinez?" "There's a Madison Martinez here claiming to be your sister. She seems quite upset. Should I send her up?" "No," I said calmly. "I'm not receiving visitors today." "Understood, ma'am." The call started immediately. This time, I answered Madison's. "What the hell is wrong with you?" she screamed. "Where are you? Mom and Dad are homeless. The house closing fell through because of your little stunt with that lawyer. They have nowhere to go." "The closing fell through because you were working with a con artist," I said evenly. "The lawyer was trying to help you." "Help? You destroyed my life. Derek's gone. The investors are suing me, and now I might go to jail for fraud. You won't go to jail if you cooperate with the investigation. You're a victim too, Madison. I'm not a victim. I'm an entrepreneur. You've always been jealous of me, and now you've ruined everything. I didn't do anything. I wasn't the one who researched Derek. I wasn't the one who contacted the attorney. She found you on her own. But you didn't warn me. You knew something was wrong and you didn't stop me. I thought about all the times I'd tried to warn her, all the questions about Derek's credentials she'd dismissed, all the concerns about the business plan she'd ignored. Would you have listened? I asked. The silence stretched between us. Where are you? She finally asked, her voice smaller now. I'm safe. I'm starting over. Without us? For now, yes. But we're family. Those 3 words had trapped me for so long, had made me excuse every betrayal, every taken advantage, every expectation that I would sacrifice my own dreams for theirs. I know, I said. That's why this is so hard. I hung up and turned off my phone again. The next few days passed in a strange blur. I went to work, had my meeting with Patricia, accepted the promotion I'd worked so hard for. I came home to my studio, cooked meals for one, and slowly unpacked my life. I started therapy with someone who specialized in family trauma and boundaries. Sarah came over on Thursday with wine and gossip from my old building. Your parents camped out in the lobby for 2 days. The property manager finally had to call the police. Where are they now? Staying with your aunt, I think. Your mom's been posting cryptic things on Facebook about ungrateful children and family betrayal. I didn't have Facebook anymore. I'd deleted all my social media, needing the clean break. And Madison? Cooperating? With the FBI, from what I heard. Turns out Derek scammed 12 other people. She might actually avoid charges if she helps them build the case. Good, I said, and meant it. I didn't want Madison in jail. I just wanted her to face consequences for once. Are you really never going to talk to them again? I thought about it. Not never, but not now. Not until I figure out who I am without them. 2 weeks passed, then a month. The calls eventually stopped, replaced by emails I filed away unread. I threw myself into my new job, earning praise and respect from colleagues who knew nothing about my family drama. I made friends in my building. I started dating someone who thought my boundaries were healthy, not selfish. 6 months later, I finally read the emails. They ranged from angry to pleading to resigned. My mother had written the most recent one. Emma, I don't understand what we did to drive you away, but I hope someday you'll help us understand. Madison is getting help. She's in therapy and working a real job. Your father and I found a small apartment. We're managing. We miss you. We love you. We're here whenever you're ready. I stared at that email for a long time. Then I wrote back, I love you too. I'm glad you're safe and that Madison is getting help. I needed space to learn who. I was outside of being the responsible daughter. I needed to stop enabling the patterns that were hurting all of us. I'm not ready to meet yet, but I'm glad you're doing well. Maybe someday we can build something healthier together. I sent it before I could second-guess myself. The response came within minutes. We understand. We'll wait. A year passed. I thrived. In my new position, saved money, traveled to places I'd only dreamed about. I learned to say no without guilt. I learned that love didn't mean sacrificing yourself. I learned that family could be chosen as well as born. On the anniversary of my escape, I found myself standing outside a coffee shop, watching through the window as my parents sat at a small table. They looked older, more tired, but they were laughing at something on my father's phone. Normal people having a normal coffee date. I could have walked away, maintained the distance that had given me so much peace, but something made me push open the door. My mother saw me first. Her face cycled through shock, joy, and uncertainty before settling on cautious hope. Emma? Hi, Mom. Dad. Would you like to sit? My father asked, already pulling out a chair. I sat. We stared at each other across the table, a year of silence heavy between us. You look good, my mother said finally. Happy. I am happy. How are you? They exchanged glances. We're learning, my father said. Therapy helps, understanding why we did what we did. And Madison? She's working at a bank, my mother said with a small smile. Can you believe it? Regular hours, steady paycheck. She's even saving money. She wanted to come today, my father added. But we thought maybe you weren't ready for that. They were right. I wasn't. But sitting here, seeing them try to respect my boundaries, gave me hope that someday I might be. We talked for an hour. Surface things mostly. Their new apartment, my promotion, the weather. When it was time to leave, my mother reached across the table, stopping just short of taking my hand. Could we do this again? Maybe next month? I thought about the studio apartment waiting for me, my sanctuary that no one could invade, the life I'd built without them, the therapy sessions where I'd learned that love and boundaries weren't mutually exclusive. Yeah, I said, I'd like that. I left them in the coffee shop and walked home through streets I'd made my own. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah asking how it went. I smiled and typed back, better than expected. The truth was I'd spent so long being the responsible one that I'd forgotten I was also the strong one. Strong enough to leave. Strong enough to build my own life. And maybe, just maybe, strong enough to let them back in on my own terms. As I climbed the stairs to my studio, I thought about Madison. We'd have to talk eventually. There were things that needed to be said, apologies that needed to be made on both sides. But not yet. Not until I was sure I could see her without falling back into old patterns. For now, I had my small, perfect space, my growing career, my chosen family of friends who celebrated my boundaries instead of testing them. I had become the person I'd always wanted to be, not in spite of leaving, but because of it. Sometimes the most responsible thing you can do is save yourself first. Sometimes the best way to love your family is from a distance. And sometimes, when you finally stop enabling everyone else's dreams, you discover you had dreams of your own all along. I unlocked my door and stepped inside, home at last. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, maybe even new conversations with my family. But tonight, I was exactly where I needed to be. In a space that was entirely mine, living a life I'd chosen for myself. And that was worth everything I'd left behind.